Welcome, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 with my continuing look at Hearts of Iron 4's No Step Back DLC with the new mechanisms, and I'm evaluating it. Yes, I know many of you have played further in than I have at this point. Just busy life and sort of saving it to play here on the weekends. So, we can invite to faction, or it looks like we can. Hungry here, and I want to do that. They will accept, it says. Very good. I think an early invasion with a focus on the Mediterranean without the Battle of Britain would succeed in the original Barbarossa was on me. Yeah, I too believe a Mediterranean front would have been a better option. Another thing I was looking at before starting this, we can come over here, come to here, and switch this out with medium tanks and have we have one extra tank, so we'll do that. Now, the other thing I want to look at, I haven't looked at, if we were to come here, anti-tank support, and this may be stopping. No, we have about half, so I'm not going to do that just yet. Currently, we are producing anti-aircraft guns through here. I'm going to, so when that's done, let's put on 2 more military centers, and because we sort of know that's coming, let's add 1 more anti-tank gun there, and because we're going to need more, well, that's a lot, we're just we're ramping up a day, maybe that's good enough. I don't know. March 39, we'll get our first railway gun. Well, yeah, it's can't hurt to have too many tanks. We'll get that going. So, and officer corps, yes, okay, we can do another land doctrine. Very good. We'll unload that. And do we spend now? Yeah, we'll do that. That may be pushing a little ahead. Here we can't really do anything. Air doctrines, we're not doing much with that. And how are things with Japan? We have an advisor out here. Okay. They've successfully taken the greater Beijing area. They got a nice defensive river to sit along here. They're pushing here. Don't know if they'll push into the communists very well. What they should be doing, yes, I know I'm not fighting that battle, but they should really be seeing about a naval invasion, whether down here at Nanjing or all the way down, somewhere down here, just to create another front to sort of push on. What does a railway gun do in the game? Is it a strategic weapon, or like, it's a unit on the map as far as I understand. Just curious. Yes, this was a 1936 start. And I am still learning the new stuff here. So let's let the clock roll for a little bit. They refused our offer, said we would get it. Okay, not paid licenses. Okay, they're not paying us. Oh well, I'm not going to complain or do anything about it. Insufficient resources. Okay, only 2 down. Not enough that I want to. Start another thing. Take up a civilian factory just for it. Okay, we're getting through the aircraft, Luft, black zones. Oh, we can do this. Well, I like this better, I think. Well, okay, hold on just a second. No, There's something here that I want to do. Okay, centralized control. Okay, it's just this now. Yeah, alright. Very good. And... okay, we're in 39, so no, really meant to sort of click there. Okay, construction to get more resources, or this, resources I should say. Let's do this, I want to get more resources coming in. But I want to see, Arno, how the railway guns work in a practical sense. The Dutch M39. Not even sure what that is, but you Europeans from little countries think your little toys are somehow the best. National focus completed. Onslaught with Austria. Okay, so we now have Austria. I think it's 1939, so it's time for the Atlantic Wall. Let's build another army here. Yeah, I guess so. Whoever got... whoever decided that the primary default color is just going to be this god-awful turquoise or whatever you want to call it. God. Paradox, please. I know I can change it, but it means I have to go in and constantly change the damn shit. Whoever did the color palette for these should be fired. I want to say something more harsh, but okay. Unassigned, yes, unassigned to Gerb's Brigade. Let's scratch that. This and this. Wait, let's bait in essence a core here. Okay, do we have Deedle, is it? I guess he's just in the mods. Okay. Now, okay, and well, the Gerb's Brigade is better. So let's come over here and cannot change to this template because that would cause us to exceed our... okay, well, they won't let us do bigger special forces right now. Bummer. And again, I have to go in and change this. Oh, God. I know I don't have to, but God, it looks so ugly. Look it up and what the Dutch can offer you. Planning to start the war in this playthrough. Well, planning to get to the war. I hope to. I don't know if today, but I do hope. Hello, Lord Samuel. Well, cool. Final Fantasy 14, cool. Hello, Exurgent. Yes, we're playing Hoi 4, but you know what? Now it has railroads, and it's really cool. Doing the dailies with my guild. Yeah, I hear you. Yes, war today. Well, we'll try get there. Okay, well, we now have even more factories because we got the Austrian ones. I know it doesn't look good, this whole, you know, big giant army soldiers and map and whatnot, but This isn't so terrible, Exergen. Okay, well, okay, we're gonna need more. We need more would be the easy answer. Bombers, fighters, anti-tank guns. I just think we need to spam out more of those things. Let's do 3 factories of that. What might I be? But I know we don't have flat guns in our units yet. Oh, heavy fighters would be nice to have too. Okay, so we'll get 2 of those factories up and working. Hello, technologists. Use your political power. Yeah, I should. Like the infamous air zones for the missions. Yeah, no, I don't like the air zones. Let's see, now we need to trade here. We need 10 more, so let's just go for 8 more for the moment. With Sweden. Now, yeah, political power. Speed, reliability. Let's go with speed. Do we try to get one of our... Okay, Armor Genius. A mix of Rommel with his Armor Division attack and Schroner with Infantry Division would be very good. So let's get Schroner starting off, which we can do so now. I heard the transport planes are meta for supply. Very well could be. Hello, Ari. How do I put this? Germany had the airlift capacity to do strategic levels of air transport for supplies. They did have that. But it also cost them so much. And I don't mean like as in money or fuel. I mean as in losses of aircraft and pilots around for that. And some of the early pockets they did all right with, but with Stalingrad that was hugely costly and somewhat costly early on as they're trying to do some of it out of Crete, more costly as they're doing it in North Africa. Britain does not, to my knowledge, have enough aircraft to do strategical, transport aircraft to do strategical air supply until the Americans are supplying it, supplying them aircraft. So later in the war, yes, but that's in essence America doing it. I mean, just with British pilots and whatnot, they're helping out. And of course America does, but really most on a strategic level, really most of these nations do not have the ability to do strategical supplies. Okay, well, let's theaters.
Zuhören! Angetreten!
Create another group. Oh no, I didn't. I want you up here.
Ihre Befehle?
Yes, let's create with you. There we go. Who is... Oh, Carl Escalate? That's a generic photo. Is that a real person? I don't think so. Not sure.
Angetreten!
Alright. Uncle Sam, yes. Okay, Lord Samuel, have a good day. Forklift, yes. The thing that will win World War II. Yes. No, it's a super weapon for America. The thing that shoots the artillery shells is sexy, I know, you know, artillery pieces.
Bereit zum Ausrücken!
But
Ausrücken!
if you don't get enough artillery rounds to the guns, then they don't shoot them. Following return to Russia now shares a border with Yugoslavia. The government, Prince Paul, has been fairly quiet about their stance. Proposed reordering of Europe. Perhaps we should remind them. We'll put squeeze on them, I guess. I don't know. Okay. Now we're getting a bunch of this done. We're gonna get some more. We got a lot of fuel. Good. That is good. How much rubber are we importing currently? Importing 8. So let's see about doing 2 more synthetic factories. And let's put one up here and one out there. I look, Karl Esker, he was Austro-Hungarian army and the Austrian one before joining the United States. Okay, so he's a real person, but that is just a generic image. Thank you, Ari. Yeah.
Zuhören!
Okay, so we have the Austrian army's mountain corps, basically. Fuel refining, good. We'll get to there, but let's get production up and going.
Achtung!
Just in case the Czechs try something. We're doing the west wall. We want the west wall before we push on Sudeten lands. Okay, we need more manpower in the German army. So let's come over to here. I know it's early, no they won't be well trained. And yes, we will get to playing some war stuff and seeing how it's going, but this is as much about experimenting as anything else.
Zuhören!
And out here in the east. This Manfentel? No.
Achtung!
Yeah, okay. That's him out there. Well, create another command. Maybe not. No, let's just give them to Manfentel.
Befehle!
Now that should, once we're ready, yeah, allow us to start pushing here. But you don't want to push here until you have that done, in my opinion. I know we were a bit late on the clock, but hey. Checkmate, yes, yes. If Japan joins Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact in 1939 with Germany to get some oil and allow the Reds to take over some of China, like pulling the U.S. embargo will not hurt them as much before joining the German war. Interesting. Is that in the game now? I mean, how fucking fantasy land does fucking Paradox want to get? Yeah! Japan would join the Ribbentrop-Molotov Pact and get oil from the commies because, yeah, Japan, like, yeah, wait a minute. They fought a war with the Soviet Union or whatever you want to call it. I mean, it was just a border war. We may call it a skirmish because it wasn't like the big war, but up in Khalkhin Gol, the Japanese didn't do so well. Yeah, the Japanese wouldn't. And why would the Soviets care about it? You know what? You know, like this. What would the Soviets care about Japan and Ribbentrop-Molotov Pact? That sounds ridiculous. Japan is in the historically wants to be in the anti-Comintern Pact, which is anti-communist. God damn, if that's in the game, oh shit. Now this is why people like Exergen out here. One of the reasons, not the only one, but one of the reasons why people like Exergen doesn't want to be anywhere near Boy 4 because of all this fucking fantasy stuff, and why we need to mod it the hell out. But even the Germans and the Japanese would fight between who would get the oil. Both sides would get less overall. Not saying that that is remotely doable. Okay, let's take a look at this for a minute. And Aries bringing up a good point. Let me quickly come over here and see the tree. Here, Japan, national unknown, national focus. Don't know where it might be. Yeah, I know they had done that. Manchurian. I don't know. I mean, I know they have the whole, weird fantasy stuff, but oh, just an idea from you. Okay. So if they're not doing that, well then we don't need to. But yeah, as Aries says, there's no interest, and there's also very little. What are they going to do? How are they going to get the oil to Japan? Seriously, how are they going to get the oil from here to Japan? What? Put it on the railways, the Siberian Railway? They don't have enough railway capacity to do more, really, quite honestly, than supply the needs of the Soviets out here. So they're going to have to put it on ships, especially once the war breaks out. How are they going to get it to Japan, through the Suez Canal or out here and all the way around, even from, that just is just, that's just weird fantasy. That's, what if Superman were to show up? Yeah, I know. What if Superman were to show up? No, not all of you. I just want you there. No.
Angetreten. Ausrücken. Ausrücken!
Come down there. Yeah. What if the Greeks won World War One? Yeah. They'd move their capital. Would they have moved their capital from Athens to Constantinople? I don't know. But yeah, it's just there's reasons why things happened the way they did.
Ihre Befehle!
Some of them are geographical.
Zuhören!
Some of them are ideological.
Befehle!
We're on millions of rickshaws. Yeah. Okay. So we're getting some more with combination of getting 2 more of these and no, not here. What am I doing? Still waking up. That's what I'm doing. And this with 1 more rubber and more oil refineries. I'm not saying it's going to be enough, but it'll be a reasonable amount. Obviously, we will continue to pursue down here. So we're going to be getting more civilian factories as we get into Czechoslovakia. So I think now is more the time to build military factories. And yeah, we're getting, I don't think that's enough, but we're getting considerable amount there. Ignoring transport planes for the moment. But I'll tell you right now, and I don't know if other people have made videos on this, I really don't know how much is needed for things like how many trains do we need, how many fighters do we need, the new thing. Okay, 1 more fighter, and we'll do another close support, just try to keep that up and going once we get another slot for it. Put the they had Zeus. Zeus is the trademark of Disney and Paradox. Hey, Beam Slam.
Bereit zum
Got
Ausrücken!
another motorbikes division here. Rommel has 4 divisions. Guderian has 4 divisions. One of Guderian's is just an infantry division left over from, and he'll keep it from Spanish Civil War. So now we'll have 4 divisions of quick units. Ah, there we go. We now have a railway gun. Let's move it to here. I want to see this thing. We have a railway gun. Eisenbahn battery 712. Bombardment, max speed, hit points, supply usage. Uses 1,000 men. But now we have a railway gun. Is IKB here? He has a railway gun. Well, we're going to move it to where the railway gun should be, facing the fortifications down here. They, of course, can only move along railways. And see this. Oh, man. You know, and I don't know if Exergen is still around here. The oil is full. Okay, yeah, we'll do something about that in a second. Who I've been working with and upgrading TRE So I know some of his thoughts on things. But the one thing that would really, really, to me, lock in Hoi 4 over Hoi 3 would be if strategic movement had to operate like I'm operating this train. Like, if this unit wants to strategically move up to here, because notice they even have it, they even use a little railway thing. It can just move this way, right? But there's no rail links there. It would have to move, it would have to, since it is starting on a railroad, it'd have to come along here and then to there. Now, just to have railway movement speeds, have lift capacity, which would be nice, or whatever, and get up to there. But if you're starting here, you would have to first walk to a railroad and then strategically move. That would make all this. They use the K5 railway gun known as Anzio and yes, which they use. Yeah, the Carl Gustav thingy here is way too big. And didn't happen until later. Land doctrines. Yeah, we'll do that, I guess. Using up our points, but it's good. So yeah, this would be great if this was... Okay, we see its bombardment range is this big circle. Obviously, that's way too big. I'm guessing that's what it is. Way too big, but... Okay, well, hold it. Let's just move it to here. Instead of putting it on the front line, we'll put it here. And I'll try to bombard the front once we get to war with France. I know, okay. So it doesn't have organization. Okay. Interesting. And yes, people, I know I'm just getting here. Okay, and yes, my fuel was full. So what we can do here is well, let's just cut back. No, by one. Don't want to end Romania's importation. We should do another silo. I know I will once we get through some of this. Let's put it back there. Wait. Okay. Interesting they have that there now.
Befehle?
West wall's nearly done. Do Sudeten land. Should probably get us some more factories. Okay. Building a second railway gun, that's fine. We're just going to do 2 factories with that. Nothing more fighters. Okay, west wall complete. And insta fortresses! Yay! Okay, and they've sort of announced that the likely next major regional expansion will be Italy for the game here. And so I know they've changed this from the beginning, and obviously they've changed this a little bit for this release. Like I say, I know I keep saying this, but it's been a long time since I played vanilla, meaning more than a year since I played vanilla. So I don't know all of, there's some detailed changes, but I don't know if there's major ones. And so I have to look at what I'm going through here now. And I get their point that they talked about years ago now, that this whole thing was meant so that you needed to make choices. Couldn't do everything. Okay, that's fine. I'm not against that idea, but we're looking right now, we're at April 1939. Well, Grossraumrichtschafft, maybe that came a bit later, maybe, I don't think so. Definitely the 4-year plan would have been done, autarky would have been done, Hermann Goering Works, KDF wagon, those would have all been, the Reich Autobahn would have been done by this point, getting the national focus. Did a lot on liquefaction and synthetic rubber all at the same time. So this extra research lot that I drove towards doesn't seem unreasonable to do. Army innovations, haven't done air innovations yet. Okay, Treaty of the Soviet Union, that would have been done. Another Army innovations, fine. Haven't done the Anti-Comintern Pact. It takes way too long. Okay. Naval rearmament, they were definitely doing this stuff for sure before this period. So, yeah, okay. Sudetenland happened in 38. That, I think 38 also. Fate of Czechoslovakia, early 39, right about now, or before. So we would have been to here historically. And so to get 1, 2, 3, 4. 4, we'd have to get rid of 4 of these. Don't know if we would have had, historically, if we would have had align Hungary. They tried to align Romania, and Romania said, fuck off. They eventually, of course, come around, but they definitely, by this time, had the Anti-Comintern Pact in effect. Not, we could talk about, obviously they never did Z-Plan, though they do this down here. And so this is maybe more of a 1940s stuff, U-boat effort, sure. If we're looking, and we can forget all this out here, that this is just weird fantasy stuff. So, I don't know, befriend Japan is definitely what Hitler was doing. Germany, prior to Hitler coming to power, was befriending China. For the first years, Hitler is reasonably balanced between the two, but once the war with China comes out, he definitely moves into befriend Japan. They would have been doing at least one level of air innovations. So I don't get, I get the idea that can't do everything, but hey, Daniel Nunes, how you doing? But yeah, this just seems a little off. Got my hair cut today for my dance, got a mullet and got it burned. Cool. Cool. Didn't know anybody still did those. Also, the game is getting fixed. Make sure to download the patches. Yeah, I think I have everything on auto update for this. Bila, do you think if China somehow performs better that he would have? No, it was ideological with Hitler. Japan had a Germany had a long-standing relationship with China. I know China goes to war with Germany during World War I to get this back, but and there's still a sort of German village, German town here that I don't think there's hardly any Germans living in it, but it's sort of kept as a quaint tourist town for the Chinese, and it's a lot of the original German built buildings are there, and it's sort of like Germantown in China. Mao Zedong stayed there for a week or something once and whatnot. even before that, Germany's relation, during relation with China wasn't so terrible. Yeah, they were part of the, anti-Boxer rebellion and whatnot, but it wasn't so bad. And then during the 20s, I forget the general's name, but a German general is basically sent out there and organizes up a lot of the Chinese army and helps the nationalists. And he dies, I think in either 1935 or early 1936. I think it's 35. And then there's another guy that his sort of, executive officer takes over. And Germany is selling things like Panzer Is to the Chinese, and basically equips Division 88 and a couple of other divisions, but Division 88 is a well German trained division. Through to the end of the war, at least you'll see some sort of the elite Chiang Kai-shek troops back here still wearing the German helmets. Division 88 and a few of the other divisions get destroyed in the fighting for Nanjing, but they got the Flak 88 guns, and they've got Pak 36s, and fairly well trained for Chinese units. Chiang Kai-shek's adopted son, it's I think from wife first marriage or something, I don't know, but his adopted son is in the German army in 1939. In 1938, he's commanding a panzer platoon as it invades Czechoslovakia. Now we talk about, call it, occupation. Well, it was a military invasion that was unopposed, meaning there was basically no shots fired. I'm not going to say no gun goes off, but it's peaceful in the sense that it is not opposed, and the Germans or the Czechoslovakia just hand over all the equipment and go through an orderly process. But it is done as a tactical invasion. He commands a panzer platoon. Panzer Is or Panzer Is, I'm not sure, and goes through that. So he's treated as a higher ranking officer than a platoon commander. He's also goes through the elite, not just the mountain corps, the Gebirgsjäger training, but there's a higher rank, or there's a higher achievement badge for go through a special advanced mountain training course. He gets it, and I don't think they just hand it to him because he's Chiang Kai-shek's son. You go through, it's a high altitude alpine training thing. He goes through that course and gets that. So he is a qualified panzer warfare leader trained up by the Germans, and he's a qualified mountain warfare specialist, okay? And he only really leaves German service, I think it's before the invasion of Poland starts, but it's definitely around that time he finally leaves because it's politically not good, because various things, there's all the world tension. China's being hit. Germany's more and more aligned with with China. But and he goes back. Now he ends up. He survives. He dies of old age in Taiwan. He does not. He's not given any frontline commands, and I don't know if that's a bad thing or a good thing. In the sense, I think he is probably more qualified than most of the Chinese generals fighting to lead a modern warfare, but he stays back with Chiang Kai-shek as a sort of high-ranking staff officer, and who's politically reliable. Chiang Kai-shek is always worried about some other Chinese general or group of generals trying to bump him off and take over. So maybe he is more of a stabilizing influence, and he's seen by Chiang Kai-shek and crew as being one of Chiang Kai-shek's guys. So he's reliable in that sense. So maybe he's doing a better job organizing things up behind here. And since China's main strategy at that point, especially once Nanjing and whatnot falls, is not to overly aggressively challenge Japanese major army commands. Fight, yes. If they push, fight, yes. But retreat, withdraw, keep your forces alive, try to protect, keep a China alive, because by that stage, they're hoping, in 39, 40, they're hoping for eventual European, once the general war breaks out in Europe, hoping the rest of Europe gets in it. Obviously, by 42, they're in it. So by that point, China is just, we just got to survive. America's going to win the war for us. We just got to survive. So it's maybe good that he doesn't go onto the front lines, because if he goes onto the front lines and not loses battles, maybe not so much gets killed, but loses battles, you lose esteem, lose face, as they would say in China. So this sort of tells you how close China, and this is up until 1939, Chiang Kai-shek's adopted son is functionally in the German army. And yeah, he has sort of a low rank, but I keep seeing, I don't know, less than 10 photos that I've seen of him, but I'm sure there's more. But he's sitting around with majors and colonels in officers' clubs or whatnot. So he's treated as an officer socially, shall we say? But he's given just commanding a platoon of tanks for the invasion, and he's trained. He goes through Panzer training school too, as well as mountain training school. And I'm sure he's getting these different schools because of who he is and not, just normal practice. But that sort of tells you the relationship that Germany had been having with China. Now, Hitler is influenced partially by, Ohashi or something like that. I'd have to look at the name. Is one of the Japanese ambassadors or diplomats to, so they have several, there's some official ambassadors, but then there's also special envoys that are there as well. And Hitler is really given a press, propaganda press by the Japanese about the samurai. And Hitler really starts to identify with the samurai. And the Nazi, ideologically, the Nazis, not the Germans, I try to use my language very carefully, very much want to align with Japan and the samurai ethos that they perceive is there, and it is there. And Japan, if you look at their internal propaganda, shall we say, at the time, in the 30s, in the 40s, through the war, but in the 30s, and quite possibly before, but most of the stuff I've been looking at in the 30s, they are virulently racist, okay? I mean, Asia is still a very racist world by Western standards. Asia in total is very racist by Western standards. Mostly today's racism, it's just a superiority racism. It's not a hate racism, meaning they don't hate Africans. They just think that they're inferior peoples. They're not as good as us, kind of idea that they have. Where Nazis or the Ku Klux Klan or something, they hate other groups. So there's different types of racism out there in the world, obviously. But during this period, Japanese view themselves very much like the Aryans viewed themselves, and I'm using those terms for the Nazis, as and they had a weird creation myth, and that they are the first peoples and whatnot that they were putting out. So it's conflicting with the Nazis, but they're trying to say that they're some sort of super race on the planet, and they should dominate the other things in conquest. And so this I'm talking is internal propaganda that's being put out in Japan. And I think it's mostly being bought into by the Japanese people. And so this very much, although it's conflicting with the Nazis, is, ice world theory, the Aryan super race of the past and the lowly humans below them, blah, 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 blah. That's one story. Japan has, and I forget right now what it is, but I've read the thing, a different, it's not ice world, but a different sort of super race past kind of thing. So yeah, they're in conflict in that way. But they're completely aligned in the sense that they see themselves as the dominant super race out on the planet, and so they're in agreement there. And I think to a large degree, Hitler does not want to be, and I think he thinks it's bad if they become, I'm using both of these things, Britain. Or the British Empire, I should say, because I'm trying to use my words and language here very carefully when I'm talking about this stuff. He does not want to become the British Empire. So I don't know if you, why do I just blank on things? The series that was on that Germany and Japan dominate the world. In America and whatnot, whatever the series. Hitler does not want Germany to be that. Hitler does not want an ideology, and it's not just because we definitely have the sort of Napoleonism or Alexander the Greatism. Yeah, I just want to conquer this. Wow, that happened easy. Well, what if we get the next one and then the next one? Ever expanding goals. Yes, there is that. But Hitler also has an ideology. And although it may not be super fixed like a rock and never moves, because it does move a bit, but he very much wants to see the German people sort of be separate and pure and whatnot. And separated from other groups. He tolerates, is how I would put it, because I've seen photographs of thousands of people, maybe even into 10 plus thousands, but thousands of people gathered in rallies or demonstrations or events for the Reich Colonial Bund, which is Ritter von Epp's Nazi organization. It's part of the official Nazi organization that wants, return of the German colonies. I've never once seen Hitler or Hess or Goering or Himmler or any of these other Nazis at any of these other rallies or any of these Reich Colonial Bunds. I've never seen him once at any of those. Mullet is back, coolest haircut ever. Okay, David. Keith Richards mullet. See what I mean? Yeah. So I keep thinking of Billy Ray Cyrus's mullet. And, okay, I'm a Californian. I have my own prejudices on fashion, I'm sure. Though I'm not, a fashionista, but okay. Don't hate me for what I think looks good or not. So, Hitler and the top Nazis never go anywhere near that I've seen, any photographs of these Reich Colonial Bunds. So why are they in existence? Because they take up a fair amount of resource. And again, if you look at my mod Tanganyika, it explores the phenomenon of it. I will say two things that I think why they tolerate it, why Hitler tolerates it. One is he's tolerating it because it doesn't hurt his base movement, and he, like politicians everywhere, wants support from everybody. So the more support, the better. So you got these, return our colonies, yay, people. They're supporting me. Fine, great. The other aspect I think Hitler wants is pressure on Britain and France, so that he goes, look, I've got these guys in my country. They want their colonies back. What are you, in a diplomatic negotiation someday? I'm putting this out as a theory. I don't know, because I don't really. I've in every biography that I've ever read, and I've read, I don't know, 6 or more biographies on Hitler, including John Toland's, 2-volume set and other ones. I've never heard a reference that Hitler's referring to the Reichskolonialbund or anything like that. So I'm guessing. This is just, my educated guess. And now I don't know whether the authors come across references where he makes, in some table talk that was recorded, because some of the, I don't mean audio recorded, I mean, people taking notes. There are some people that took notes that what Hitler talked about today at, the dinner table or something like that. Whether there's notes somewhere in there, because again, I don't read German, so I'm not reading the originals, and I know some of the stuff's been translated in English, but I just haven't read it all. I've read people that have, quoted some of these things, and I've read those, but those are just, a few of the events. So, I don't know whether he is quoted about it somewhere and they just left it out, but I figured if it was important, they would have referred to it. So basically Hitler is ignoring these people. So I'm guessing he's like, hey, they aren't doing any harm, let them do their thing. And hey, this might be useful when I'm going into negotiation with France. We'll go, hey, let us have Poland, let us have whatever, because Hitler thinks even if there's war with France over Poland, he's going to be able to and Britain, he's going to maybe be able to negotiate a settlement. I've gone into some of this. Hello, Plastic Gangsta. He's going to be able to negotiate a peace settlement at some point. He thinks he can, or before the war starts. He thinks he might be able to, and in the early days, then the war starts, he thinks he might be able to negotiate a peace settlement. I think he's thinking like, hey, I've got these, radicals, these fanatics, these whatever that want to get back Tanganyika, Southwest Africa, Cameroon, and what is this? Is this Togo? Want to get this back? Well, I'll give up any claims forever if you just let us have this stuff in the East. So I think he's thinking of it as a bargaining chip. But I don't think Hitler wants to have Germans ruling over Africans or any of these other groups of people. He does want to see periodically, as in every other generation or something like that, moving further and further east, sort of like in the... He wants to see Germany to be sort of like America was, in that America expands across the continent. He wants to expand across this continent. But I don't think he sees this as sort of what is Russia here. He doesn't see coming down, in the 1,000 years. He doesn't see coming down into China or India. He sees, pushing in the 1,000-year Reich. He sees pushing to here. Now, what's beyond the 1,000-year Reich? Who knows? And I'm sure Hitler doesn't really have any coherent thoughts on that. But so he doesn't. So if Japan has a big Asian empire, that's not going to be in conflict with the core. Maybe. And the Reichskolonialbund is making noise about lost German territories out here, but. That's also something they don't pay attention to, and of course, Japan's an ally. Hello, Neutron. I'll get to the chat in a minute. So, as he pushes there, it's not going to be in conflict. So he can have, Japanese group of racists ruling Asia. He's ruling here, and he wants Britain to continue to be sort of the colonial empire that rules the other parts of the world, and that's what he wants to have happen. At least that's my view of how I'm doing it. Let's see what the chat's saying. This game does look good. All those generals along the bottom. Yeah, they're getting pretty good. We now have, and they're talking about bringing back corps generals, but we have army groups and army generals. They're talking about bringing back corps. They're not going to be on the maps like they are in Hearts of Iron 3, but they're just going to be organized here. I hope they will also come down and actually give divisional generals into that, I hope. What's the list of general? Well, so you see, this is von Rundstedt's corps. I just highlighted all of his units. This is von Kluge's corps, or, well, army group with, I'm sort of using this as a corps here, with Guderian and Rommel as the sort of mobile / panzers, and this is because you can only have 5 armies under the army group, so starting another army group here with 2 more armies. So they're sort of somewhere in between being a corps and a army kind of thing. Hello. It's called ducting. Yes, how you doing? Hitler was absolutely convinced that there would not be war over Poland. He was absolutely convinced. I would disagree, Plastic Gangsta. I would disagree. I'll talk about that in a moment, but not just yet here. I guess Hitler was satisfied if Mussolini would have Africa in Italy's zone of interest. Yeah, well, see, he's not worried about the details. Hitler. He's not worried about the details. He is perfectly fine, in my opinion. Again, and I know some of you guys are new here. Just to give you a little bit of background, I've read a lot of books on the Nazis. I actually took a course in university specifically on Hitler, an upper division seminar course. Not just a lecture course, but a seminar course in which you write a detailed paper. And my paper was written on his rise to power. And yes, I got an A in the course and the paper. So I have a fairly good knowledge of Hitler. But it's imperfect, and I'm sure I label what I do here as commentary because I don't have notes and specific facts. I'm just working off memory. So I'm sure I'm getting something wrong. Hitler is perfectly willing, though, if after the war starts, to negotiate a peace with Britain, okay? And he's perfectly willing to screw Italy over. In the sense that even if Italy takes Egypt, if the price of peace with Britain is giving Egypt back to Britain, he'll do it. And Italy can't, can't really do too much about it because Italy cannot defeat Britain militarily on its own. Now, if Britain needs to be crushed, to invaded and conquered, well, sure, he's very willing to have Italy control the Mediterranean, but he still wants the British Raj, and he sees the British Empire, as they would see it, as Australia and New Zealand. And are the Dutch going to be a thing after everything is said and done, or are they just going to be Lower Germany or whatever, because it's lower down on the Rhine or something like that, maybe? And if that's going to happen, well, there's not going to be a Dutch East Indies. That would probably go over to somebody like Britain, or the Japanese, quite possibly, depending on, I'm looking at Hitler's viewpoint, because Hitler in 1940 and even 1941 is still seeing Japan as this, and fighting in China. It's only after that period do they really start coming into these territories. And if Japan conquers the British Raj, okay, he's going to be cool with that, but he doesn't really care about those kind of details. I mean, not that they don't interest him, it's just that isn't his ideological or strategic goals. That let it work itself out and figure itself out, and that's how he's going to do with that. So yeah, okay. We're going to end this episode, but not the live stream, so you don't need to go anywhere. But the episode, those watching later on YouTube, I would love to hear your views on all of this. So please post comments down below. See you next time for more Hearts of